Right, so we thought it would be fun for this week's video to show you guys the process of us building me a new computer. My current computer is Harry's one that he built
many years ago.
It was the first one you built?
A lot of it is from the first computer I ever built, yeah.
And like, I'm sure at the time it was like pretty good. It's not anymore. Oh boy.
So yeah, this is the old one.
Oh boy.
It's quite dusty and sad.
Cable management is stunning.
Yeah.
I love the empty space here. That's just like nothing in it.
The SSD just kind of hanging in there,
Fluffing around.
doing its thing.
Uh-huh.
We're actually salvaging this.
Yeah.
And also the Wi-Fi card, which is in there.
Yeah, this thing.
Yeah.
But everything else is going.
Indeed.
Maybe, but probably not.
I think I'm going to take that back.
So what we've bought is brand new everything, more or less. We haven't bought anything like keyboard, mouse or monitor because we're going to keep using the ones I've got. My mouse and keyboard we got October last year.
Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah, they're not old. They're not great, but they're fine. And the monitor's one old one of yours, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was my dad's, actually.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go set up everything so we can show you what we bought, and Harry's going to talk through what it actually everything is, because I don't know.
So this is the motherboard, which is basically the circuit board that everything connects to. This is a NVMe SSD. This is a tiny little hard drive that's super quick, so that will mean that video editing and stuff is nice and easy. Got 16 gigabytes of RAM, which again will help with keeping everything running smoothly. And AMD Ryzen 5 2600 processor with 6 cores and 12 threads, which runs at 3.4 gigahertz base clock. There you go, I read that off the top of the box.
Good work.
Okay, so we've also got an RX 580 graphics card, which will be perfect for gaming at 1080p. Not too expensive, quite reasonably priced. And then we've got a Corsair case, which is just a big white box with a tempered glass side panel, which everything will go into.
Real pretty.
Cool.
Should we get started?
Let's go. So the first thing we want to do is prepare the motherboard before we get into the case. This is the processor here. So you can see it comes with a little sticker. Keep that in the box for now. So you need to take this out of the blister pack without dropping it. And then always hold it by the edges, because you don't want to touch the front of it because the oils from your finger can screw with the thermal paste. And also if you look on the back, there's these tiny little pins. If you bend these, you've destroyed the processor, so don't touch that side either.
I'm not going to touch it at all.
Okay, so the processor goes in this little slot here. And if you look closely, there's a little arrow in the corner there. And that lines up with the arrow on the processor. The little gold one there. So to install it, it's very easy. You just lift up this little bar here, and that opens the socket. And then you just drop it in. There you go. And then you don't need to apply any pressure, it will just fall into place. And then you push this bar back down, and that locks the processor in place.
So that's all done now for that bit?
Yep, that's the processor done. We now need to install a CPU cooler. So for this, I think we need to remove, let me just check. Haven't seen one of these in a while. So this is just the stock cooler that comes with the processor, but it does the job just fine, so we won't be overclocking this. So this is the CPU cooler. It's just a big ass fan with thermal paste again on the bottom. So this is going to go in this way around. You don't want to touch this thermal paste on the bottom either, because that's been applied, so just leave that over there for now. So there's a back plate, if you look, on the back of the motherboard there, and that's what holds things on. So we need to unscrew these. Oh, it's a magnetic screwdriver. Nice.
Ooh, we do want to capture that magnetic screwdriver action.
Get these out. And then these little bits of black plastic we don't need anymore.
Are they just...
remove. So they're for a different mounting type CPU cooler. So you can get some that like hook over these little latches and then you lock them in place. But they're not really popular anymore. They used to be how the stock coolers worked, but they stopped doing that. So then we get our CPU cooler. Which way around? It's got to be that way or that way.
Are we going to have to think about how this sits in the case?
What do you mean?
Like for the wire?
No, it's fine because this just plugs in there. Let's do this way, I think. I think that's neater. Maybe. Okay, let's do it this way around.
Alright.
So you just want to line these up so that they go in and then drop it down. So all of the screws are lined up there on the back plate, and now you want to tighten this down in a crisscross pattern. So just do a little bit on one side and then diagonally across. 3, 4, 5, and then diagonal again. 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that going in? Is that screwed in? Okay, yeah, it has. And then final side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now just once you've got it in, that basically doing it in a diagonal crisscross pattern like that ensures that the thermal paste spreads out properly across the processor. It gives it as good a contact as possible. So now you just want to go back round in the original diamond pattern, crisscross pattern, and just tighten everything down until it stops.
So are you aiming to get the screws tight enough that they can't turn anymore?
Yeah, but it's not like, it's just kind of finger tight, like it's not too bad. There you go, so it just stops spinning eventually.
Cool.
And then your CPU is properly mounted.
Yay! Yay!
And we can just tuck this wire out of the way a little bit. Get it down there.
I suppose we can worry about the wires and stuff later.
Yeah, well, once we install the RAM, which is the next step, which... Oh, fuck, we need to take the cooler off. Okay, so we had to remount the CPU cooler in the other direction because it was going to cause a clearance issue with these RAM slots. That's the next step, actually, is installing the memory on the motherboard.
To be fair, it wasn't too big of a deal. It literally took us like a minute.
Yeah, it's not difficult. So here's our RAM. As you can see, it's got some nice white heat shields on it.
Peel porn.
There you go. I'm pretty sure this goes. Yeah, this way around. So you'll never see it again. But that was nice.
Yay!
So to install a stick of RAM, there's these are the RAM slots here. And first thing you need to do is one side of these contacts is longer than the other. So this is the shorter side. So you can match it up with the slot there, so you can see which side is the shorter side. And then there's these tabs, so you've got to pull those open like that. Some motherboards only have tabs on one side, but it will be obvious. And then you just make sure that's aligned, slot it in, and then push until the tabs come up and click into place. You'll have to push a little bit harder than you find comfortable, but it's fine. So, and then with the other one, beautiful. Okay, and then just as before, get it lined up in the slot, and then click it into place like that. Cool. There you go, and that's the RAM installed. Okay, so this is a step that you wouldn't usually have to do, but we've got a very nice SSD here, and this actually plugs directly into the motherboard.
This is surprisingly small. It should be open already.
Oh yeah, it is.
Because we got everything for this computer delivered on the same day, which was Saturday, except for the motherboard. So we've just been taking things out of their boxes and looking at them while we've been waiting.
So this is an NVMe SSD. It's 0.5 terabyte, and it's really, really tiny.
Cute.
And so for this, just put that there for now. We need to get out the small screwdriver, and we need to get this little hole here. Hang on, let me just check that this is in the right. Yes, it is, so that's convenient. So we don't need to move the header screw because it's already in the right place. So we just unscrew this little screw here.
Oh, I see. So does the screw hold it in?
Yeah.
But it's not actually screwing into it, it's just sort of...
No, it just clamps it in place.
That's cool.
So put that there so we don't lose it. Now this goes in here, like that, clips into place. You'll see it springs up like that. And then all we have to do is hold it down and get this screw in. It's going. And that is the SSD installed. Lovely. With the label the wrong way up.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because the Wi-Fi card's going to go on top of that.
Yeah, it's fine.
So we've now prepared our motherboard. So the next thing we need to do is cannibalize the old computer and get the power supply out.
Woo-woo. Ready?
So this is the power supply. It's a 650 watt Corsair TX Series 1. It's fine, it's nothing special. I think I got it from my school.
It looks a little bit like an alien.
I would like to add, with money, I didn't just steal it.
Don't believe you.
And yeah, this is
A
the power plug goes in there, and then these different cables distribute power all through the computer. We don't actually need the majority of these. In fact, I think we only need 3 of them. If you are prepared to spend more money on your power supply, you can get ones that have the cables separate, and then you can just put in the ones you need. But this is a cheap one. So what we do have though in the case is a nice power supply shroud here.
This thing.
So all of these cables will be hidden behind that, so they won't be obvious once the thing's built.
So you remember how terrible it looked before, with all the wires everywhere?
These are really tight, I need a screwdriver.
These are thumb screws, technically, but they are in V-tight. That's not too bad.
Question is, are they captive? I think they are.
Yeah, I've got one done. Yeah, they're captive.
Brilliant.
Captive means that they can't come out all the way. They've got a cap on the end.
So they just kind of hang there. It means you can't lose them. It's very useful.
Yeah, exactly.
And then take the back off.
This is exciting.
Oh look, there's a hard drive cage down here.
Oh, with a piece of cardboard in it.
If you had hard drives, you would need this. Now this piece of cardboard, as Elsie so eloquently put it, is actually a very useful box. And inside this box,
which you've torn open violently,
are a load of zip ties and screws that you need to actually mount stuff in this case. So that's always helpful to have.
I was wondering where they were.
In a box in the hard drive cage.
Well, now we know.
That's always where they are.
Exciting.
So as you can see, we've got an extra standoff if we need that. We've got some big long screws if we wanted to mount a radiator. We've got some tweezers. Computer building verge joke. That's double-sided tape. I don't know why they included that, but I'll go with it. Maybe it's for mounting water cooling stuff. These are really big. Oh, they're probably for the... I have no idea what those are for.
They look like external things?
Yeah, they're quite confusing.
Anyway, that's not important. We'll come back to that. Do you want me to go and find...
These ones are motherboard screws. That's going to be helpful so we can screw in the motherboard. Those are like... Just don't film the screw stuff. I don't know. Let's work out what the weird screws were.
Yay.
So they are alternatives to these screws on the front. And what they do is they mean that you need a Allen key to open it rather than just being able to twist it off.
Yeah.
Which means that if you take this to a LAN party, your shit's not going to get stolen. So what we need to do now is install this power supply. Not going to lie to you, this hard drive cage being here does complicate that slightly.
We will
But
figure it
it'll be
out.
fine.
We have tenacity and the camera
Charisma,
phone.
uniqueness, nerve and talent. Okay, so we're going to mount this with the fan down so that the fan is just pulling fresh air straight out from underneath the case.
Okay.
Don't do this if you're putting your computer on a carpet, but otherwise it's fine. This just means that the air supply for the power supply is completely separated from the air supply from everything else, so it doesn't add to the general hotness in the case.
So now we've got to line it up.
Yep. You also don't have to worry too much about getting all these screws in. 3 is generally enough.
There's only 3 in it when we took it out of the other case.
Because I only put 3 in to begin with. Also, sometimes they just don't line up that well. These screws gonna work?
I brought over a plastic bowl because I thought it would be helpful. And what you've done is you've put all the ones which are still in bags in the bowl and then just tipped the black screws out onto your nearly black
You don't
mouse
own me.
mat. Ah!
Okay. So we need to work out which cables we need for our build. First one we're going to need is this one.
Chunky.
This is the main motherboard power output, and we're just going to put that through this rubber grommet here so that we know where it's going to go. And then these are SATA cables. Oh, these are Molex. These are really old. So if you have a really old computer, you'll use these for power. If you have a newer computer, you will use none of these. That's more Molex. These are SATA power connectors. These are the newer kind. You use these for kind of hard drives, disk drives, that kind of thing, but we don't need them because this computer is going to have no external hard drives and no disk drives.
Woo.
Because it's 2020 and no one uses disks anymore. So here's a cable that we do need. This is the CPU power, so this is also going to go in the top somewhere, I think.
There's a little thingy in there that squishes up.
We have a look at our motherboard. This needs to go in here.
It's got a squishy bit in there.
It's not going in there.
I'm just saying.
It's going up here. So that can go through there for now. And then this one, this is the PCIe power. This is for our graphics card. And then this is going to go through there, like that.
Yeah, boy.
And we're not going to zip tie anything in at the minute because once we've got it all plugged into the motherboard around the front, we'll know exactly where it has to go. And then the rest of these, we are just going to
Strategically shove.
bundle up as best as we can, like that, and then just get them shoved in here. You don't need to film this. I'm just shoving cables in a hole, don't film this.
Yay!
And those will just tuck away like that.
Woohoo!
Perfect.
What's next then?
So now we actually don't need to do anything else around the back for now because everything is already mounted on the motherboard.
Okay.
So let's turn this bad boy around. Oh shit.
So what have we just discovered about our motherboard?
Okay, so our motherboard has only got one fan header apart from the CPU one, and there's 2 fans in the case. So what I'm going to do after we film this video is order a fan splitter so that we can, it's just 2 wires basically merged into one. So we plug the fan splitter into the motherboard header, and then the fans will plug into the splitter, and then everything will be fine. But for now we're just going to build it with the back fan and leave the front fan how it is.
Well, that's fine then.
Cool. So keep that out there for now. And now we need to install this. This is the motherboard back plate. So what this is going to do is provide like a barrier between the outside world and the I/O on the motherboard. So the best thing to do is just to work out which way on it goes, which as you can see is like that. Just have to get this in here the right way around. And then smush it into place.
Well smushed.
Okay.
So does that just pop into place? It doesn't like get tied in or anything? It just...
No, this just pops in.
Oh, it should do. There we go.
There we are. So that's all good and popped in. Cool.
Cool.
And that is the back plate on.
Yay! Shiny.
Okay, so the next step is to install the motherboard. As you can see, there are these little black knobs on the back here. So these are what we're going to screw the motherboard into. They're the standoffs. They keep the back of the motherboard from contacting the the back of the case.
Mm-hmm.
And all we're going to do is get the motherboard, line it up with the back plate, and drop it in place.
So what's the problem? Just explain what the problem is.
So the way that this is a small board, this is an M80X motherboard.
Mm-hmm.
This case will also take a full ATX motherboard, which will use these ones here.
Right.
However, in case you install an ATX motherboard in this, they have taken out this screw here, because if you were to install a full-size motherboard in this case, that would just hit the back of the motherboard and it could cause a short circuit.
Right, that makes
So what they've done is they haven't installed it by default. So all we're going to do is get this and then take
it literally
the board
just
out.
goes in, doesn't it?
Yeah, just screw this bad boy in.
Cool.
Alright, so this is how you install the motherboard. Put it in there, line it up with the back plate, and then it should just click into place. And that little motherboard screw there is just holding everything still. There's a load of points on the motherboard. Here, 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 here. That one's already filled in, and here. And all we need to do now is just screw them in. So most motherboards don't come with wireless unless you're getting really small ones. So this is just a tiny little PCIe wireless card.
Mm-hmm.
So all we need to do to install this is first we need to take this off. There we go, pop that bad boy out. So this is just a little cover. We don't need that anymore, but we do need the screw that it was attached to, because we're going to put that back in. Just get your card, hook it into the slot. Like that. Great. And then that just slots in there like that.
Cool, and just put the screw in the top and it'll just secure it.
Exactly. The next thing we have to install is the graphics card. Yeah, so this is an RX 580.
Ooh.
There you go.
That
Nice
was nice.
carbon fibre pattern. And then do the back as well.
We were worrying about the fact that it's got red on it because I want to keep this whole build quite black and white, monochromatic, but we figured out that the red is definitely going to be pointing downwards, so you won't see it anyway.
Indeed. So this has a little guard over the PCI Express. It's just a little bit of plastic that stops the connectors getting messed up.
Mm-hmm.
So take that off, don't need that anymore. And then lay this to one side for a second. So this, as you can see, is a 2-unit card. So we need to take out
2 units.
2 of these little PCI Express covers to make room for it. Cool. And now, get this bad boy in. Line up, and then you'll hear this click into place. There you go. And now your graphics card is installed.
Yay!
So we just need to tighten up these 2 screws here to hold it on, and then we are very nearly complete.
I'm so excited. Woo!
Okay, so now you can see that the graphics card is installed, and so is the Wi-Fi card on top of it there. So all that's left now is to just start plugging in these cables that we ran earlier. So let's start with the CPU one. So we need to hook these together, and then that just slots in up there. We just need to hook these together. Do these hook together? No, they don't. So that would explain why they weren't hooking together. Oh wait, maybe they do.
Oh.
Okay, so I'm just going to do them one at a time. There you go. So that's the CPU power plugged in. Now we need to get this big boy here.
Mm-hmm.
And that just goes in like that. Click it in place.
Yeah.
And now we need this one here, which goes in to this like that. Brilliant. And now we need to do the front I/O, but this is now a functional computer.
Woo woo woo.
So let's do some front I/O. So to do that, we need to turn this back over, and then you will see that these cables come down from the front of the case, and they've just been tucked in there like this.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the switches and LEDs. So we've got a power switch, a reset switch, and positive and negative power LED. And then we've got the audio here for the front microphone and headphone jack. And then we've got this, which is a USB 3 connector, which is for these two USB 3 ports at the front.
Cool.
So we've got to work out where each of those is. I think we should just put them through this little hole here. Here we've got the audio one. You can tell which way around these go because they all have like a blocked out pin, so you can't put them on wrong. So this one has a blocked out pin there, and there's a blocked out pin there, so I know that this goes on this way around. I should have done these before I installed the graphics card.
Oh well.
But they are fine. Okay. Now we've got this USB 3 which got stuck in the fans of the graphics card. That just is going to go in here where it says USB 3. It's very easy, it's basically just Legos for adults. And then power. So if you look on these block of pins here, there's a tiny little diagram which tells you where they go. Positive on the left and negative on the right. So that is positive. I am positive that's positive.
Haha.
If you buy a more expensive motherboard, it will come with a little block that you can remove to get these on. I'm just going to try and do these together, I think. The great thing about the power and the reset switch is it doesn't matter which way around they go.
Oh, sick.
The only one that matters is the LED. Well, it matters that you get them in the power switch and the reset switch place. But what doesn't matter is what orientation the actual little 2-pin hook is in. There you go, and that is now all plugged in as it should be. Okay, so final thing to plug in on the front is this back fan, which we'll do for now. Obviously we will get the
Splitter.
other fan installed at some point. Great, so that's the back fan installed.
Cool.
And then at some point we'll get this front fan set up as well. But for now, let's just get some good exhaust going.
Looking good.
And now we're going to cut the camera and I'm going to do some cable management around the back.
Yay!
So as you can see, I've now tightened up all these cable runs and zip tied them in place, which means that it will keep them at the front of the case, make it look nice and neat, and also make sure that the cables don't restrict airflow. And it's now time to seal up the back.
Would this be easier to do with it laying down?
That's fine. I've put this tempered glass on my own one loads of times.
Oh yeah, by the way, this is Harry's computer. It's a bad bitch. It's very threatening compared to this baby. But yeah, they're a family now. Corsair family.
And you can now do the plastic peel.
Oh my god, I'm so excited. Okay, okay. Oh no.
There you go.
Yay!
And that is how you build a computer.
Yay! And she's quite pretty.